Well, there will always be hierarchy. There will never be sameness.
This isn't about Taylor Swift, but I think when we both saw the video of her doing that, we kind of were just like, all right, I've been hearing this so much. We got to talk about that.
When I hear that, I think the patriarchy, I automatically think of man hating. It seems like a small thing. How would the audience reacted or the public have reacted if a man had said, F the matriarchy?
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fascinating Womanhood channel. On our channel, we talk about everything that has to do with developing femininity and building strong, long-lasting, loving relationships. I am Cherry Lynn, and I'm here with my mom, Dixie Andelin Forsyth. Hi.
Hi.
So we're diving into the term patriarchy today and what it means in today's world. There's a lot of talk about getting rid of the patriarchy, and it often comes with a lot of anger towards men. Recently, this topic made headlines when Taylor Swift, during her London concert, sang a song with the lyric, F the patriarchy. What did you think when you saw that video, Mom?
A couple of things. I thought it was sad that she would use her incredible influence in this manner with a lot of her fans are very young women, and that she would even go so far as to use that language. I think it's really unfortunate to resort to that language. And I've heard the back and forth of, well, you got to understand the context and what she was saying. But I mean, I've said this before on here. I'm an old lady now, and so I've seen a lot of things, and it seems like a small thing, but in my lifetime, I've seen how small things can become big things if you just say, well, it's just a small thing. Over time, how would the audience reacted or the public have reacted if a man had said F the matriarchy?
Right. Well, I think in context here, for anybody that doesn't know, in the song lyric, she's not saying to F the patriarchy. She's referring to a man that she dated in the lyric. But I think aside from the context of the lyric, I still think what's happening is it's been going on for over a decade. She's been singing this lyric. I don't know why it made viral news recently when she's been singing it for so many years. But what's happening is she has these huge crowds, as you had mentioned, young girls that are chanting it. And I think that's what's very off-putting for me, is that you watch these videos and there's girls chanting it. I don't even think they know what it means. I don't think they really understand the context. And that's where it just becomes a little bit dangerous.
Feminism, to the point of man hating, has been with us for over 100 years. And the patriarchy, that quote, they haven't used that long, but it's been used for some time. So the general public, like me, who don't really follow celebrities that much, when I hear that, I think the patriarchy, I automatically think of man hating, because it does refer to men. It doesn't refer to women, and women can be abusive too, and they have been, and they are. And for somebody in her position, where she has, if you don't know her or her lyrics or her music, you think she has been more successful than most men ever become. What she's saying to these young women sounds like it's saying don't trust men.
So this video is not about Taylor Swift. I think we're just using her as an example. There are many celebrities out there that are using this theme of tear down the patriarchy. For example, in the 2023 Barbie movie, which we didn't cover because we were just so, what should I say, kind of just unimpressed with that movie. And so many people covered it and reviewed it, and we just didn't think it was worth the time. That movie uses a fun storyline to address serious issues about gender and power, suggesting that women are the wisest and most valuable, while men are portrayed negatively, wrapped in a pretty pink bow. That movie makes hating men seem like a joke. And it makes us wonder, like you said earlier, how women would feel if the reverse took place, if a Ken movie came out that put Barbie down and displayed women. Can you imagine? Like, it's such a double standard that's going on out there.
Here's the bottom line, though, and where we come in Fascinating Womanhood. What we're trying to do, and what we recognize that a lot of you out there already recognize too, is that our civilizations around the world are not doing well. Countries are not strong. Families are not strong. And what the message is more of division between men and women, competition about, I've got to put you down, or I've got to be equal to you. That does not unite anybody. It's divisive, even whether it's men are useless or women useless. Either one, or competing with men. Competing with men does not help strengthen the family. It doesn't help strengthen our nation.
I think any big topic like this really points to the whys. Well, why is it happening? Why are women so angry with the
Right.
patriarchy? What exactly do we mean by the patriarchy? Because you mentioned, I think earlier, when you hear that, when you hear someone say, let's tear down the patriarchy, you think it's essentially summarizing, I hate men. But I don't necessarily hear that when I hear multiple things. And I think that's because the word patriarchy tradition has a traditional definition for the term, and it's kind of evolved. Can you talk a little bit about what you think the traditional term patriarchy means and what it means to you and your generation? And then maybe we can talk about how it's evolved. I think it's important for the younger generation, like
Yeah.
who Taylor Swift is talking to, and the Barbie movie people or Barbie movie audience is looking at this and they're thinking it's something else than what you might be thinking what it is.
Well, the word patriarch and matriarch represent male patriarch, female matriarch. Some people say I'm the matriarch in my family. They don't say I'm the patriarch. So we know that it's male and female. And what it refers to me is hierarchy. In some ways, it seems like people are saying down with hierarchy. Well, there will always be hierarchy. There will never be sameness because human beings, animals, the world just does not work that way. And to try to act like we're going to make it that way, it won't work. It can't work. The best way for us to deal with this is to learn how to understand one another, but particularly in Fascinating Womanhood, we don't tell men they have to understand us. We can only do what we can do. So we're about teaching women how to understand each other, ourselves, as well as men, because understanding men is a whole subject. We're not the same. And this competition that we're seeing out there between us is not the answer, even though there are problems, like you say. We've talked about this before with lack of fairness, even in the workplace. You've experienced this a lot more than me, where you feel like because you're a woman, you're either not considered or not taken as seriously or any of those things.
I feel like traditionally, I feel like when women first tried to fight for equal rights, it was
Suffragettes,
it was more about things being fair and things being taken away, unkindness and bad things going on,
Mm-hmm.
laws that needed to be changed. And those are
Right.
wonderful things that came
Yes.
about women. But somehow patriarchy has turned into this push them down and we're in charge. And I think there's something very unhealthy about that is
Yeah.
confusing to the younger generation that we don't have to put men down to feel good about ourselves. And I know that people like Taylor Swift don't mean that because I know she loves men. For crying out loud, she's dating at the time we're recording this. She's dating one of the most successful male football players. It doesn't get much more macho and,
Yeah.
it doesn't get, when you talk about hierarchy, the two of them are at the top of where
Yeah.
in their areas and their jobs. And so it's just odd to me that I know it's a song lyric, but it's ironic that a lot of girls are looking at her and the same thing with the Barbie movie. It was so successful. A lot of girls liked it. I know it's supposed to be kind of a joke, but I think that's more dangerous in a way when you take something that's this serious and you try to turn it into something, it's just a song. It's just a cute.
Right. Well,
Oh,
okay.
really?
So I'm over the years, I've noticed that, because of Fascinating Womanhood, women and men will sometimes say things like they have a friend who's a man who is not a colleague, but just a friend, but he's not really a friend to her and her husband. And she says, or a man has a friend who's a woman who's not a colleague, not a relative, and they go out to dinner with him or go out to lunch and they say it's just an innocent lunch or dinner. Well, if you really are being honest, those, sure it is. It's just a lunch or just a dinner, but those things are dangerous because of what they can lead to. And that's exactly how I see saying things like this in a lyric, even though a person may not mean it, she may have meant this. That is just a song lyric. It's no big deal. Those things can lead to other things, and they do. And we live in a society and a culture where we're not safe from disaster in relationships. We're just not.
Here's how I see it. Okay, so my daughter loves Taylor Swift music, right? She's only 6. She has no idea what she's talking about.
Uh-huh.
So me as a mom, and I'm hearing that, and I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate. But
Yeah.
I know that Taylor Swift doesn't really hate men. I think she just makes a business off of kind of putting them down from time to time. and she's very good at it, and she writes these catchy songs and stuff. So this isn't about a hate on her.
No,
It's more about we as moms, I guess, is our message here. We've got to be careful what we're saying, how we're communicating these things to our kids. And I'm going to have to at some point talk to her about all this when she starts to understand it. But what about the moms out there that aren't doing it? And these kids are going to get older and they're going to go, oh yeah, Taylor Swift said that. So I'm a big fan of hers. So I agree with her. And we just have to be careful with that because like you mentioned earlier, if I were to hear a man say F the matriarchy, I don't care what he's talking about. I would be offended. And I can only
yeah,
imagine how many men are hearing that and they're going, hey, like what? Men are not doing well. I don't know if you've noticed, but men in our society are not doing
no.
great. They are not doing as well in school as women. They're not getting, I know it in the workforce, it's a little bit depending on where you are and what
Depending on the field, because women are dominating in medicine, in law,
yeah.
in some things they are actually taking over, and even in the education and teaching,
Women
they
are
dominate.
for a lot. They're doing really well. And it's great that women are doing well. But I think, again, the message here is we don't have to put men down in order for women to do well. And there is unfairness out there in the workplace. There's still horrible men out there, but I don't think putting down putting down men and saying they shouldn't be leading is not the answer. And you can't group
No,
everyone into a whole. It's just
right.
into a whole group. It's terrible.
It's like if you have a terrible boss, it doesn't mean all bosses are terrible. And
Right.
if we're talking about fairness, that's really kind of an epitome of not fair to lump an entire group or sex or whatever into being a certain way when they're not. When what we really need is strong homes, strong families, strong marriages. It's still very strong, this attitude that the most power that there is male power. We give that still the credibility of being the most powerful force on earth is male power. And we do ourselves as women a disservice when we don't recognize female power.
I think she's trying. I think people like her are trying to be powerful by saying that. But explain why, in your opinion, she is not powerful when she says those things?
Because she unnecessarily divides people. She doesn't realize she's doing it. I'll tell you what female power she's using that I'm sure she doesn't even realize it. She's relationship oriented. That's a power that women tend to have in spades. It doesn't that men don't have any. It's just that it's natural for women. And what she's using, and I don't really follow her, but you've talked to me about her because of your daughter. What she does is she relates to kids or people on sort of a personal level, and they relate to her. That is female power. What women are really good at is relationship stuff, and she does it in a public way. It's really successful, and she's very good at it. And so she doesn't even realize the power that she has and how she's using it. It's just sort of probably instinctual on her part. If we could just understand the power of female power and to be women and to embrace our femininity, we don't need male power. And F the patriarchy implies that we got to go after the same stuff they do in the same way.
Well, F the patriarchy also, in my opinion, alludes to you feeling like a victim. And to me,
Right.
when you are trying to become a victim of a situation, that is not a good leadership position to be
No,
taking. It's not powerful. It makes you look like a victim that is whining and complaining. And that is not powerful. That is the
not a
opposite.
position of, yeah, it's not a position of power. And I think you bring up an excellent point. To present yourself as a victim always puts you beneath. It means somebody's higher.
Right. And if we really truly do want to spread this message, which I think she's trying to do, she did this song called The Man, and she's talking about if I were a man, I'd be more powerful and stuff. Well, I get where she's coming from because she's experienced a lot of mistreatment from some bad men. But if we really want to overcome that and spread a message of what can we do as women to hold these men accountable, well, the last thing we want to do is say, F you. Like, that's not going to do anything. In fact, it's just going to make them
No,
more angry and more mean and mistreat us more. We're going to have more results if we can
mm-hmm.
learn how to tap into our feminine power. And I know that's really hard. This is really big, right? We're talking about celebrities with all this power that can do whatever they want. But when you dial this down into a little office where you're working, like the average woman out there that has a job, she's just in the workplace. This is really tough. You have a boss or a peer that mistreats you. What do you do? This is really hard. And I think when she's sending this message of, oh, F the patriarchy, it's like, well, that's not going to do these women any good. They
What are
can't.
you supposed to do? What do you do with that? Do you mouth off your boss? What do you do?
Yeah, the anger is not going to help. And you
No.
inspiring these women to be angry with men is just, to me, it's just kind of a disaster. And I know, like we've said so many times, like this isn't about Taylor Swift, but it just, I think when we both saw the video of her doing that, we kind of were just like, all right, I've been hearing this so much.
Well,
We got to talk about that.
I was like, oh man, I just thought, oh no. When I heard John Lennon, we all know who the Beatles are. When I heard him sitting in his hotel bed with Yoko Ono, and they talk about peace and love, and that song, that very famous song, Imagine There's No Money. Here's a guy sitting there with tons of money, and and he's not in that position. He's not in that position, but he influenced millions and millions of young people about Imagine all this stuff when it was just a song. You can say it was just a song, but he did have influence. But he didn't. He was in a very expensive hotel having this love-in, and he himself didn't actually live that way.
I think,
So
I think that his intent was a little bit more positive than Taylor Swift's intent. Like her intent is to downright put down this man in the story. I know who the boyfriend was in the story because I looked into it a little deeper because I wanted to understand the context. And it was a horrible, it was a horrible relationship that she was in. And but to be fair, she also chooses, she chooses man after man after man after man. It seems that it's just not her. So,
yeah, this is, and I don't know about her current boyfriend. He's probably great, but what I try to teach women is that when you have a series of bad relationships or marriages or whatever, it's helpful for you to look at what attracts you to this type of man. They are not all like that.
I think the message here is that it's really dangerous to be this hateful of men and put them all into one group and to put them down to make us feel better. And we just need to spread that message of putting men down and hating them and is not healthy. And it's not going to create anything positive in the society we live in today. And I'm so tired of it, to be honest with you. I'm just so tired of hearing it. It's very childish. I really love a fun song and I love a fun movie. But when it has to have these jabs and undertones, I'm so tired of it.
Yeah, I am too. And she doesn't mean to, but it's a little sliver in undermining really civilization, because that attitude cannot work. Bad guys and good guys and bad women and good women, they will always exist. It's how we deal with them. I know, and I know I know a lot of good men.
Right.
They're not deserving of that F the patriarchy. They don't deserve it. And there's some that do, but they certainly don't all. And
I don't really think that if this were to really be broken down and you were to interview any of these celebrities that stand behind this, I think if you were actually to like break all of this down, they would deny that they hate men. They would deny that they would want to put them down. But it's still dangerous to say it like that because women are hearing you and they're chanting. I mean, oh my gosh, in that video, there's 80,000 people. Just that one video alone. She's done so many, I don't even know how many concerts and sang that same lyric. And people are chanting it along with her. And it's just, it makes me sad. It makes me sad for the men out there that are going, hey.
Well, and it makes me think, doesn't she has a responsibility to the influence she has on them. If you're in that position, if you or I were in the position that she's in, you can stand in front of 80,000 people and she might say, I'm just entertaining them, but you're not really. I mean, some concerts you probably are just entertainment, but words mean things.
Well, we would love to hear what all of you think about this topic. I know this can be kind of a divided topic, and there's probably going to be a lot of you that disagree with some of the things we're saying. Maybe you agree. We would love to hear from you in the comments section. Before you go, please make sure that you check out all of Dixie's books. We have so many books to talk about femininity, building strong, long-lasting, loving relationships in your marriage and in your dating life. We have all of those things attached to this video.
And the workbooks.
Workbooks will all be attached to this video.
And for those of you who have children, especially young girls, check out Cherry's new Grezzy book because it helps girls. It's just the first book of helping girls to understand and appreciate and value femininity.
We're trying to have another side of the coin here, that we are spreading more positive messages about genders for younger kids.
Yeah.
And we hope you'll check that out. Please like and subscribe to our channel so we know you're watching and so that you can support us growing. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.